All right, welcome back. Today is Friday, the 13th of August, 2021. Ending the week on a banger on SPY. All-time highs once again. Really just chopping around today, not really doing much. And again, within the first minute, you can tell that from the get-go, we're not putting in a lot of volume to start with. And just as a little side note, some housekeeping to get going before we get into trades today. Doing a little data research here on the SPY of the last 20 trading days, so last real month of trading. Only 4 days have produced a first minute volume over 600,000 shares traded on SPY. So meaning within this first minute candle, obviously yesterday and today did not account of that, as we're only getting 300,000, 400,000. Pretty ludicrous to see that. And of course, it's just because it's going up. I mean, even looking at the daily volume here, you can just see this kind of average. If you're looking around the median area of this here, you can just see this little bit of a downtrend that we're getting. Where's the need for volatility? Where's the action if this thing's just going to continue to go up every single frickin' day? Just absolutely ludicrous. So, shoot, I frickin' broke the red streak. Stupid. I had such a great thing going. But unfortunately had some winners that I had to take. That great learning lessons in trading today. I felt I was actually trading as a trader, if that makes sense, instead of just being a total newbie chasing green, chasing red to the short side, vice versa. Today I felt great steps forward in taking a step back and being totally free and open to looking at what the charts are saying, even though we're not getting the greatest or best charts as of right now in this August month. But still, taking what the market's giving me. And God, every single day that I don't have to wear pants to a job, that's a day in heaven, I tell you what. So market internals on the day as well. NASDAQ still incredibly low dollar volume. Even we are 4 hours after market close. Wow, nicey too. Even under $200 billion volume. OTC, yeah, a little bit lower on the low side. Under $2 billion. Golly. I mean, it's time to take a hint as well, too, from these red names in the chat and all the millionaire traders that are just taking their time off. I totally missed the full-day webinar with Sykes and all the guys out there in Italy trading today. Pissed at myself. I was so excited to watch that, but also kind of glad, too, looking back on, if I was listening to them, I would have been distracted a little bit from the charts I was looking at and the trades I was in. So hit or miss, I may have to go pull that up a little bit later date or over the weekend and see what they were playing and how early they checked out, especially even in the chat. There's names checking out right away in the morning session, or even when they don't see something they like within the first half hour of market open, they're saying, hey, I'm outie. I'm not here to lose money. Or even though there is always money to be made when that bell rings, gosh, sometimes it truly isn't worth it. And I do not have that luxury at this point. Once again, I say that pretty much every single day in these summer months, that we have to be here, but that doesn't mean we have to trade. That doesn't mean we have to pretend like these stocks are awesome and think that we're not awesome because we're not making huge amounts of money. But kind of rambling here at this point for the intro. So let's get into some tickers. Before that as well, too, yeah, I also mentioned the red names, and like even on my scanner at this point, too, the mover scanner, the biggest trade, highlighting these trades on the biggest volume of trades themselves, the highest one is 56,000 trades, which is so minimal and small. It's just so funny to see, and the percentage moves we're seeing aren't really that awesome either. But anyway, like I said, there's still opportunity out there. Some of the movers in the pre-market, PBTS from yesterday, holding up a little decently, had a little bit of a squeeze here from that day yesterday, but then of course just dump this whole day here. That would have been a nice short. I don't know how I would have called that or what the title of that trade would have been. BIOL, the same sort of thing. I think this was earnings on this one. Climbed into market open, but then just really dump, and not too much exciting action on that one. ANY, former mover again, moving in pre-market as well. A little bit of a spike. Not the greatest percentage moves here, but just dump and choppy. Not really much volume on that one either. Going into actual trades for me today, NAOV. So I started off the day looking at NAOV, knowing that this was that kind of intra-daily trade that Matt Monaco talked about yesterday on Small Cap Recap, the awesome day yesterday that it was. It was holding up pretty well in this pre-market. to finding some levels around like 2.9 here. Of course, we have the round number of 3 at this point also being a factor. Right away after market open, we get a spike. I bought a few shares. Let's do this. I bought a few shares, right there, just as a total chasing trade. I call it a protection or whatever you want to call it, of, I think this could go much higher. I think we could test these levels here. We've got plenty of room to go, which it did. But it was just so degenerate and truly the same kind of rut that I've been catching myself falling into of, at times I'm doing the same sort of pattern and I'm buying the tops and then I end up having to chase or sell the bottom along with every single other person and stupid degenerate that's doing the exact same thing. That really isn't trading. It's just chasing. It's seeing green. If I really wanted to be in this pattern or see that, hey, there's breakout levels coming, there's pre-market's holding well, I got to be in it pre-market. There's so much better opportunity here as we're under VWAP. The risk reward, especially too, is so much better. And as it starts spiking and pulling back, the comfort level for me too in my position allows me so much more freedom to breathe and move around and just understand what the chart is saying at this point. So I took it as it crossed back down underneath my entry at this point. I think I set a stop again. Setting a stop once it goes beyond my chase entry, then I say, okay, sweet. Now I can just set a stop right above my entry so I don't have to take a loss on this one. But then again, that's just defeating the whole purpose of the trade of let the trade breathe and develop, even if it goes, understanding that my entry is a chase at this point, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the trade is over. And of course I want a better entry to begin with, but even if I do go degenerate on the entry, that doesn't mean I have to go degenerate on the exit or think I'm smart on the exit, at least for, I'm not taking a loss on this one, when it still comes back for more opportunity still in the morning session here, 1 hour after market open. Still has a little more room to the 3-4. And just dump the rest of the day, hard fade here. That was pretty interesting to see as well. So I was able to shift my mindset away from that and recognize it, state it out in the open and say, okay, that is not who I want to be as a trader, especially in these summer months. I can't make the excuses of, there's not anything else going, I just need to be doing something. That's kind of what I hinted at, but the truth of the matter was I was considering that trading of chasing the entry of, I can hide behind the fact of, there's breakout levels here and there's doing all these types of things. But really, I should have been identifying this pre-market and saying, okay, I'm establishing my position here. I'm willing to risk and looking to cut or looking to take off at least some into this new push here. And then it frees me up so much more to take any more choppiness for the rest of the day. That's a trade plan. And that's what an awesome trader does. And I was just totally chasey, totally degenerate, but great learning lesson to shift into the next trades that I felt I nailed to what I envisioned as the types of trading that I want to be, the type of trader I want to be in a sense. So FULC, this one's been holding up for a while, had that big volume, big percentage move this day, had a little red day, greenish day 2 days ago. Again, kind of crazy pre-markets that it's been going through. But the main attraction to this one was the full day trends in a sense. So like looking specifically at yesterday, okay, it faded in the morning, but then the entire back half of the morning session and the whole afternoon, it's just a grind to the upside. Same thing with the day before it, that it didn't even have any indecision. It was just pretty much the whole day, it's a downtrend. And then the day before that as well too, similar sort of setup. Okay, little dip here, but pretty much the big trend, big moves for the day is choppiness if you're looking at it on a minute by minute candle basis. But the huge trends that this ticker likes to follow is the big uptrends. And of course, a little bit of sell off into the close here, last 3 hours of market on that day, on the big run up day. But overall, it likes to follow and move over a longer term perspective than just minute by minute basis, 10-minute basis, 15-minute basis, whatever you want to use. So that's really what I was looking for on this one, as it's holding well from the failed offering dump over 2 days ago, and especially over yesterday, as it tried to dump, offered a little bit of opportunity on the short side, but then totally reclaimed. And I was kind of baffled to see that and was very interested to see how it would open today. Big spikes in the pre-market choppiness, selling off hard under VWAP into market open. But then again, you get those little bit of rise, and then it tries to go back above VWAP, comes back down, still choppiness, and then skirts back to the upside, pulls back down a little bit more. And so in and out of all the way here, I'm buying little tiny shares and little slices to just slowly size myself in. I think the max I got to on this trade was a $500 position size. And very, very awesome to see that what I just mentioned with NAOV, that's everything that the full trade plan was, everything I was doing with this one to say, man, there is an awesome breakout level. It is holding well. I'm not just chasing an entry like up at this point here, up into strength at least, trying to think, oh, well, it could go further beyond that breakout plan, especially in these summer dry months. You've got to be so much more diligent and sniper-ish to get your entry early, identify the trade earlier, and be ready for the ride when it comes. Because when the strength comes, if you're getting an entry at that point, that's way too late. So with this one, totally awesome, and I was really, really proud of myself for, not to pat myself on the back too much, but just in my entries. And of course, coulda, shoulda, woulda been sizing in more. My specific entries, I can nitpick and be so specific on, okay, yeah, maybe I should have been buying a little bit more here on pullbacks. And even though it did dump here, being that it was a little bit of a smaller position size, still ready or still willing to give it more room to breathe, even though that was below my entry at this point, which again, turning the page from the degenerate style of trading where I would have just placed a stop right at my entry point and been stopped out here. So then I was able to actually double my position at that point from 10 shares, 20 shares, adding when it's starting to reclaim VWAP once again. Because when it does come closer to VWAP does have some sort of inflection points on the day on this one. It doesn't follow specifically to a T, but it certainly does have some weight on how this thing trades. So I was able to size in more. We get more price action coming back to test that high a day once again. A little bit of a double top and then sell off back to VWAP, and then this is hard to look at and so zoomed in. But then a little bit test back to VWAP, but then buys right back up again, new high days here. A little bit of a consolidation once again, and then we get an awesome test to the upside of that pre-market high day. Took off half of the position at that pre-market high with strength here with this volume that was coming in at this point, saying, okay, sweet. That wasn't, I think my average at this point was like 22.9. So it would have had to be like 25, pretty much 24.9, 25 on the dot as a 10% move from what my average entry was there. But was just able to, as it was failing to come closer to 25, I figured, okay, if we're printing lower in the next candle, then I definitely got to take off. So then I just shut off at 24.42, which is a terrible fill on this candle here at this point, as it was on the downslope, which I don't think it would have died off that hard. It did on this point, but it still obviously had way more room to go. And I think a lot more shorts. I was just protecting profits, especially if it was going to go to the downside with shorts hopping in, thinking that it was going to fall off the table at this point, bouncing off of these pre-market highs as a technical level. But then a few got squeezed to the upside, and I was able to liquidate half more of my position, the remaining position of 5 shares. At this peak here, 25.06, I got, again, not an awesome fill. Even though it was the candle, that high candle, it wasn't like an awesome fill. Still fooling around with the active trader window. A little bit frustrating at times. But that was an awesome sell here around this peak high. Then it pulled back to hovering above VWAP. Still had 5 shares remaining. And then, yeah, I could look at it and say I'm a degenerate, and I just put the stop, again, right back above my average entry price at that point. But I was truly thinking that this one had, if it did have volume coming in, it was getting to midday at this point, and of course breaking that VWAP with strength there wasn't a good sign, a great sign to say the least. But I'm with 5 shares, especially to a $100 position, that why would I not put a bigger stop in on this one to say that it does do maybe a little bit of choppiness here, but then comes back above VWAP and then has an afternoon VWAP hold type of trade or spike into the close into the weekend. That would have been an awesome sight to see, but still hovered underneath VWAP the whole rest of the day. Awesome trade. So in total, that was percentage move on that one. Only totaled out to 5% move. Of course, yeah, because we barely tapped over 10% here at this point. But that was just a great exercise and practice for what I want to be doing in the future, and especially when these just start to ramp up percentage-wise even more and more volume comes in. What is going on with my mouse? That's just great fundamentals for developing a trade plan beforehand and not just chasing strength and thinking, not me trying to buy at this point of, oh, sweet, it's breaking out of pre-market levels with strength. Now is the time to buy. And then it just rejects from there. That's the end of the trade. That's not the beginning of the trade. I could see myself having bought there if I wasn't in this thing in the morning thinking, oh, sweet, there's way more room to go to the upside. Looking on the daily, oh, that's awesome, breaking here. And then every smart person is already out. They're selling their shares to me, the one that's buying. So that was a great shift from that NAOV trade to trade this one today, even though not huge position sizes, not huge profit margin on that one. It's all about just the training and the process of what these tickers are going to do on the day, the big percentage movers on the day at least. And then I would switch over to ACY. This one is also another big mover. Had that pullback, big move, pullback, and now we're on another 3-day run up. This one faked me out a little bit in the morning session because it doesn't ever like to produce, or in these last 2 days, and even in this a little bit in this other green run up, doesn't ever have huge bottom wicks. So trading a little bit off of that to think, okay, if we get a dump out of the open here, then it's done to the long side. I don't see this thing coming back, especially from what it's done, how it likes to act. Looking on these days, it just either spikes a little bit, holds green, and then has more room to the upside. Spikes a little bit, holds consolidation, a little more room to the upside. Let's see if we can scroll back more. No, it's whatever. So that's really what I was looking at, and then it was just opening red, choppiness under VWAP, and I was thinking, oh, shoot, well, I guess I can take that off my watch list. But it started holding up a little bit more, and then we get a little bit of a spike here. And I forget my exact entries, how I was trading this. So then as it starts holding up a little bit more, I'm sizing in. I'm buying 1 share, 2 shares. I was able to get like 10 shares at this point. And as it wanted to, 5 minutes. Okay, there we go. So then as we're getting to this point, okay, great. We've had these top wiki candles that fail to continue with strength, but this is a choppier stock. It's a super low float again of 1.1 million. Again, no news catalyst. This thing is just a total pump. Looking for wider risk, obviously with the smaller size. The total position size was $500 at max, or this was only $250 on that trade, $300, something like that. Whatever math is, I don't know math. So was looking exactly for move here and then continuation on to the highs from yesterday and even further beyond for how much this thing can move so rapidly. So then a little bit of a degenerate cut, you want to call it, in hindsight, I just didn't give it enough room. I thought I was giving it enough, especially coming off of these hard red candles, big red candles from that next high a day push. I thought I was giving enough room here at like the $32 level, coming off of these relative lows here from the 32 area. So I said, okay, well, it just must be done from this dunk. It could be done the rest of the day, but sure enough, it came back again. This thing just loves to come back over and over and over again. You can see almost a perfect V dip by here that it just spikes right back to VWAP, get a little bit of consolidation. We get high slope and then rolls over a little bit into consolidation, which would have been a great area to start sizing in more. And then I had a perfect sell. So again, this was only 5 share position that I bought in this one as this green strike was pushing with volume, testing that level again. A little bit of a hard reject right immediately after my entry, but again, wider risk. This is a wider playing stock. Held it more. We again had a failure to break out. Once again, we did break out, but it failed again with volume, but still holding levels well. Even with a wider risk, it didn't even come close to testing VWAP at that point, and then we just started hovering, and then bang, nice push to the upside. And then perfect sell here on this candle is missing. 38 I filled at because as we're getting here, I just said, okay, I'll put a limit order in at like 38. You know, if we're looking at it, that's not what I want. Do this. Okay, so as we're getting here to this point, I'm seeing 36 and thinking, okay, man, a crazy spike, especially in this market, would be like if it just wanted to go quick to 36 or to 38, excuse me. So then at this point, I still have 5 shares from around like a 35. What was my average on that? 35,642. So then thinking, okay, I'm still in the profit. I'll just stay at 38 randomly. And then bang, it immediately hits, it goes to 40. Within milliseconds, though, it plops right back down. So it really, within this 1 minute candle, it looks awesome. I think, oh, you could have got 40 from 36. That's a beyond 10% trade within 2-3 minutes. But this was, you had to have a limit order in. I mean, you couldn't even have got 40, 39.98. It was just milliseconds. So it was just either algos getting hit quick and then come back down. Really wasn't that awesome of a breakout. Spiked. If you had your limit order in like I did, you got filled immediately. But then it just hovered for a little bit. And then that's just how this thing works too. It always just tends to hover. And I think I wrote that especially, that this candle was another one of those inflection points that, okay, we have volume and we're at a new breakout point, new high a day. And then time and sales would just sit there and nothing new would be happening to come in. I'm like, what is going on? Just do something. It was like it was trading more when it was consolidating than it was when we're at new technical levels, at price breakout levels. So that was just curious to see how this thing traded that way. But the price action was there. With the type of lens that you wanted to use to view this one, those 10 percentage blocks were there that you could certainly trade off of. And yes, I shoulda, coulda, woulda had a little bit more of a wider risk tolerance on this one, maybe, but not even, because I think the appropriate entry at this point for what I was going off of, to think, okay, this thing doesn't like to produce bottom wicks right away in the morning. It doesn't ever produce a bottom wick if it's a green day. So the confusion of why it was dumping here, but then the fact that it did consolidate a little bit higher means that your entry's got to be in this range here, 32 to 34. And the fact that it was dumping below that means, okay, maybe everybody who was trading on that same thesis got stopped out at this point, and they were just looking to collect that volatility, collect all the food for the snake that is the stock market, and then, now we're going back to the upside. Everybody else get back in. We need more volatility. Very curious to see, but that's trading, and that was an awesome opportunity to be a part of that, even though it wasn't perfect. It wasn't an awesome top wick nail, bottom wick buy entry, right? It's still awesome to go through the motions. So in total, I was negative on the trade, like $3. Yeah, really nothing exciting, because that second trade that was the awesome beyond 10% move was only a 5-share trade. But still, the process of going through that is so much more valuable than really that $3 loss could ever be to my P&L. Awesome opportunity. And then just a few more tickers I wanted to mention. FGLC, Florida line, Georgia coast. This one, as soon as I pulled this one up, this one reminded me perfectly of the intra-daily that Monaco mentioned on Small Cap Recap yesterday. So looking at it from this perspective, okay, we get the spike in the morning, a little bit of a sell-off and spike again, so choppier here. But once again, holding this horizon well. Spikes in the morning a little bit, and yeah, you can kind of bypass that of how you look at it, but certainly not dying off. And eventually, it's going to have nowhere else left to go but up. And that would totally reflect it in this day, which Friday, some of the best days to get in on these types of plays, because shorts don't want to be holding over the weekend. If this thing's not dying when they want to, then it kind of forces the panic into them that they need to be getting out, so they're not holding this thing overnight. And then we're squeezing into the after hours here too, blah, 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 goes on and on. So that would have been an awesome one if I was identifying it. I only pulled it up just before. I think I was pulling it up around this time frame anyway. But that would have been an awesome move. Again, another choppier one with not a lot of volume once again. And another one too, that these types of trades, these intraday trades, trading off of what you could call a VWAP hold on the daily. Again, another type of setup that you really have to be using a trade plan before the actual trade happens. Because if you're chasing, once again, like a degenerate around this point, yes, you still have room to the upside, but when you're buying still, you're getting the shares from the people who are already in it to the long side on the actual trade. And that's where we got to be if we want to start calling ourselves a professional trader and looking at these plays as a professional. That's where the opportunity lies on all of these, is making the speculative decisions. And sometimes you're going to have to take that loss and take those cuts because they don't work out all the times, but other times you're going to look like an absolute genius. So that was awesome to see on FGLC, and how coincidental that was of the intradaily, or maybe I'm just putting that bias on this one, but it certainly does look like that type of pattern. And then huge spike in the close as well too. I might keep this one on watch over the weekend for the next few trading days. OTC land, DPLS was on watch by a lot of people, I think. Spike out of the open, and then a little bit of a panic dump here, but just ugly bounce, and so inconsiderate to all my needs. I didn't even watch any of this one. I've just only pulled it up in the aftermarket here. But this one had that run a while back. Again, choppy daily. Starting a little bit of a curl to the upside here, but now it looks like it could just go red and start chopping around again. OTCs, man, just not what they used to be. The last one I want to mention, SONO, caught my eye. Something about Google infringed 5 of their patents, which is pretty sketch if you ask me. So I think the news I see is coming out 1805, which is like around this time frame. So obviously it was, people were buying in anticipation of that, or maybe they saw the judge ruling before that point. Pretty huge volatility. Definitely on watch over the weekend as we're trading around 42 level here. So we've got this nice breakout area. If it wants to accumulate more volume over the weekend, more attention, that could be an interesting play over the next few days. But that is all I got. Again, unfortunately ruined that awesome red streak we were going on. Just, I thought I could pull it out to like 30 days, but I'm just too good. It's frustrating. It's the life of a trader that some days are going to have to be green at some point. But guys, I thank you so much for watching. Oh, I forgot to mention today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Chuck E. Cheese, the innovator of the ball pit. Go to chuckecheese.com and type in day trading recap for 20% off of your next child screaming order. I thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, a 27-minute video on a weekend of a $22 update for me, please leave a like and a comment, and I will personally drive out to your house and shake your hand. I'm so lonely.